Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I am your host, Nick. Today is episode 44 of Talking Blue. We're going to recap the Dodgers and the Brewers. Yes, it is pretty miserable times here. The Dodgers got swept once again. Not even throwing on a real shirt for this podcast. We're going tank top. Dodgers get swept. 3 of their last 4 series have been sweeps. That's right. They come out of the break and get swept. Of course, we're going to recap it all. I'm not even sure how much I'm going to actually recap each game. There's really not much to talk about. It is rough right now, I will be honest. There's not too many times. I've watched a lot of Dodgers seasons in my life. I'm only 24 years old, but I've been a fan of the Dodgers a long time. Pretty much one of those fans, like a lot of you guys, I'm sure, who listen, who watch every game, don't really miss anything. Seen a lot of bad stretches, so you always will go through times like this throughout the season, probably more than once, but it is bad right now. There are not too many guys playing well. Dodgers don't even get a lead very often, and when they do, they don't hold on. So we're going to talk about all that. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you prefer to watch, you can see that I am wearing a tank top today. Too lazy to even put a real shirt on. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick. And follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. So let's quickly do some injury updates. Ironically, there's actually a lot of good injury updates. So of course we already know Glasnow's been back. He made his second start since coming back in this series. Blake Snell just finished his I think it is his 3rd rehab assignment. Went 4 innings. I saw that he had 1 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So far Blake Snell is looking pretty good in his rehabs. And Dave Roberts just said in his post-game press conference he'll have 1 more rehab, which I think will be next Saturday. And then from there, it'll likely be a discussion of does he need 1 more or does he make it with the team. He threw 58 pitches, so I would imagine he goes up to 65 to 70. That's usually where usually like 75 is where they kind of want you once you're ready to come back. So again, if he's able to get into the 70s in terms of his pitch count, he can probably rejoin the Dodgers in about a week and a half or so. But if it's about the same, he'll probably have 1 more. Blake Treinen has been throwing as well. He continues to, I don't know how many appearances he's made, but he also threw today, which is July 20th. So it looks like both Blakes will be back probably before the end of July. Max Muncy, this is a pretty crazy update. We all knew that he had the injury with the knee. Looked like he'd probably be back sometime mid-August, late August. It still has expected return August, but there's videos of him taking ground balls at third. Dave Roberts saying he's progressed really well, much faster than they thought. It's probably going to be about 2 weeks. So again, possibly see him at the very end of July, probably like the first week of August. So Roki Sasaki's continued to throw. He's up to 93. Again, not much of an update on him. Kike Hernandez is still, the phrase is he's in a holding pattern, which probably means that he's not progressing well. So he hasn't really made any progress. And then, of course, we'll get into this in the 3rd game. Freddie Freeman got hit on the hand, immediately came out of the game. Again, I'll talk a little bit more on this, but they've already come out that the x-rays were negative, which means there's no broken bones or anything. So that's very good. As it's still early, but basically that just means he's day-to-day. We'll talk a little bit about that, but that's pretty much it with the injury update. So quickly, we'll do game one. Not really much to talk about. Dodgers lost 2-0, so there's not really much to go through in terms of the game. Glasnow went 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run. Caleb Durbin in this game. This was the Caleb Durbin game. He hit an RBI double into the left field corner in the 5th, and then he eventually hit a home run in the top of the 7th, dead center. 2 RBIs for him. All the runs the Brewers needed to beat the Dodgers, 2-0. Tyler Glasnow, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He threw 88 pitches. So, again, kind of like the last recap that we've done, or second to last. Haven't talked to you guys in a little bit. Last time we talked, it was recapping the entire first half. That was a little less than a week ago. Then we obviously recapped the Giants series, and then before that was the Brewers, who have just absolutely cooked the Dodgers. And the one silver lining in that series actually was Tyler Glasnow pitching well. So it's the same thing in this series, just a lot of deja vu. So Glasnow has thrown, I believe, 11 innings since coming off the IL now. Only 1 earned run, 11 strikeouts. So the one positive is Tyler Glasnow has been very good. So I put this out on my X that he's looked a lot healthier. If you noticed watching Glasnow, the velocity's been up from what it was before he went on the IL. He's actually, I put this out, he actually has thrown his 2 hardest fastballs in 4 years since 2021, 99.5, 99.6, which gets rounded up to 100. It's kind of funny because Glasnow, I feel like there's a lot of times in his short Dodger career, I've seen him hit 99. So I guess he's just one of those guys who consistently, when he's throwing hard, sits like the same thing, 97, 98, 97, 98, pretty much. But his velocity's been way up, like 1.5 miles up from his season average. It was like about 95.5. In this game, he averaged 97.3. So his curveballs looked really good. He's actually up to the usage on his sinker so far this year. Last year was a pitch he kind of toyed with and would rarely throw it. So far, in this season, Tyler Glasnow has thrown the sinker 17%. So both of his curveball, slider and curveball have been nasty. So he's got an 80 batting average, under 180 on the curveball, and then on the slider, it's 250. So both of those pitches have been very good. And the sinker also has a batting average of 118. So the only thing that's really been a problem for Glasnow this year has been obviously when he was dinged up and went on the IL. But in terms of his performance, it's been the walks. In this game, he only had 1 walk. But so far on the year, and again, he's only thrown 29 innings this year. But on the year, he's got a 12.5% walk rate. You know, to show what his career norm is, for his career, he has an 8.4% walk rate. Like I said, it's 12.5. Last year, 6.7. The year before that, 7.6. The year before that, 7.7, 7.9. So he is a guy who will give up some walks, but for the most part, he actually is not a big walk pitcher, a pitcher that has bad command. That hasn't been the case with him so far this year, for whatever reason. I think, like I said, a lot of that might have been because of he was nicked up, clearly dealing with stuff with his shoulder. I think that's clearly obvious because the velocity's ticked up, so that's a great thing. I mean, everybody knows Tyler Glasnow's potential is one of the 10 best pitchers in the game when he's healthy. And it's funny, the Dodgers are playing so horrible right now, but ironically, their pitching staff is getting healthier. Now, we'll see. It's still mid-July. There's still 2+ months left in the year. A lot of time left for guys to get hurt, but kind of like the story of the Dodgers the last few years, other than them just being a good team, is how many injuries the starting rotation has to deal with. And right now, ironically, while they're playing horrible, they're getting healthier. We've seen Glasnow come back. Kershaw obviously came back. Snell is on the precipice of coming back. And then we'll see Sasaki at some point. So quickly, the rotation is rounding into form, kind of what they hoped for. So Glasnow, it's only 2 outings. We'll see him next week, probably. He will pitch next week against the Twins. So he'll actually get moved up a day of rest. He pitched on Friday, and this week he'll pitch Wednesday against the Twins, which is interesting. But he did have a lot of time off from this start that he made. He pitched the Wednesday of the last week going into the All-Star break, and then he didn't pitch until this Friday. So that's a full 9 days of rest. So he's pretty well rested. He looks very good. That's all good stuff for the Dodgers. So after that, there is not much else to talk about. So we'll go to Game 2. Dodgers lost 8-7. Emmett Sheehan made the start. He gave up 5 earned runs. He went 3 innings, 7 hits. Kind of the first time we've seen him pitch bad all year. Dodgers went up against Freddie Peralta in this game. Actually put some runs up against him. Shohei had 2 hits, including a homer. Will Smith had 2 hits. And then Tommy Edman also had 2 hits and a home run, as well as Miguel Rojas. One of the stories about this game was that Mookie Betts was actually not in the lineup. Dave Roberts wanted to give him a break, which is kind of funny because they just had the All-Star break. Mookie, we know how bad he's been. It's kind of weird that they gave him a break after that, after having the All-Star break. That just kind of shows you bad the offense side has been for Mookie. Dodgers lost this game. Like I said, I'm not really going to go through it. It's just so frustrating at this point. But the Dodgers also lost Game 3. I'm kind of just going to lump these together and just ramble on and talk about things that suck, I guess. So Kershaw started Game 3. He went 4 1/3. Dodgers also lost this game 6-5. 2 very similar games. Starting pitchers weren't too great. The defense let them down, especially with Kershaw. It has the Dodgers with 3 errors, so that probably means some of them were changed. There was a throwing error that Tommy Edman made. It was a tough play, sliding play to his left. He was playing third base. He threw the ball to first. Freddie Freeman couldn't pick it, so should have been an error, but not too bad of a play. Then Andy Paz, there was a line drive hit to Paz. He did have to go back for the ball, but he was lined up with it perfectly and just straight up missed the ball. So that was an error and a catchable ball, and that was something he should get blamed for. The defense didn't show up. They're kind of just not doing. When you're just losing like this, it's like you do everything possible to lose the game. Instead of everything possible to win, you're doing everything possible to lose. Don't hit with runners in scoring position. Obviously, guys are all slumping. When you have a lead, bullpen gives it up, not making the small plays. Again, they lost the Saturday game 8-7, and then they lost Sunday 6-5. And there were bad defensive plays throughout both games that kind of led to runs, and you ultimately lost by 1 run. So, as well in the ninth. So one of the stories in the Sunday game, I know I'm kind of all over the place. Mookie, for the first time since before getting injured in 2024, moved up to the leadoff spot. Him and Shohei were flipped. So Mookie comes back into the lineup, hits leadoff, Shohei hits second. I thought it was an interesting move. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I know I've thought about it. I don't know if I've talked about it on the pod before, but I've thought since he's been struggling bad, it wouldn't have been the worst idea to have him at leadoff. Maybe you spark something. You see guys do that a lot. Joe Madden used to do that back in the day with the Cubs a lot. And Shohei has been basically the Dodgers' best hitter. Maybe Will Smith has been a little bit better, but Shohei has 34 home runs. And he never comes up with runners on base. He doesn't have a lot of RBIs. I'm an analytical person, so RBIs, are not like the craziest stat. But at the end of the day, RBIs are runs on the board, which help you win the game. And you would like your best hitter to come up with runners on base. So it's kind of one of those weird things where nowadays in this analytical world, you always hit your best hitter first pretty much, especially when you're a team like the Dodgers, when you have such a deep lineup on paper and you can kind of stack guys like that and hit your best hitter at the top. I don't completely think you should just have your best hitter hit no matter what. I think it does depend on the makeup of your team and your lineup. That's my personal preference. I don't think Aaron Judge should just hit leadoff on the Yankees because he's the best hitter. I think it should depend on the makeup of your team. If your lineup can allow that. If you don't have too deep of a lineup, your best hitter should probably hit second. But when you have the Dodgers roster and you can have Shohei hit leadoff, and then you can have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar, Will Smith all follow him, it can work out like that. So, anyways, they swap him and Mookie. Mookie hits leadoff. I've always thought they could have done that with Mookie. I'm someone who likes moving the lineup around depending on who you're facing on the mound. Like if you have guys who hit right-handed in your lineup who crush lefties, you're facing a lefty, maybe you move those guys up. That's something I believe in as an analytical person. So I've always been someone who wouldn't be against like Mookie hitting leadoff against lefties, Shohei hitting leadoff against righties. So they made the switch. Mookie had one hit in this game, and then of course in the bottom of the ninth, he lined out to end the game, hit the ball 102, hit it right at the center fielder. Another just mistake, I put it out on my X, but Andy Pajes. So Dalton Rushing came up with the bases loaded, 2 outs, hits a ground ball to short. Of course, Joey Ortiz, who's just killed the Dodgers, made an incredible play on the run, makes a good throw, and Andrew Vaughn, the first baseman for the Brewers, just straight up dropped the ball. Like, just wasn't a bad throw. He just dropped it. Pajes, who was on second, so they were down 2 runs, so he's the tying run on second. He was running to third. Instead of rounding third or just kind of going in aggressively, he just stops at third base. So when the ball is dropped, he's standing on third base kind of watching the play. So, again, I don't want to kill him too much because base running can be difficult with young players. Pajes isn't like the best base runner, at least in my opinion. But, sometimes guys are trying to not get thrown out, and you see a lot of back picks nowadays, so maybe Pajes is thinking, if Dalton Rushing beats out the throw and he rounds third base, the ball could be coming across the infield from the first baseman and he gets tagged out. But the play is still kind of in front of you. You could turn your head to the left and see the throw. And if he is rounding third and the first baseman hit the ball, I know it didn't get too far away from him, but the ball gets away from Vaughn. He's rounding third. He would have scored easily and he would have tied the game. But instead, you're not really paying attention. You're kind of caught sleeping. And of course, Mookie Betts comes up. As soon as he hit the ball, as soon as I could see the trajectory of the ball, I could see it was going to be, caught right at, hit right at the center fielder. So that's the sweep. The Dodgers get swept. Again, the Brewers, this is like, I actually saw on Twitter, like the best 53-game sample size in their history. Like, they're the hottest team in baseball. And they just had an answer for the Dodgers in all, 6-7 games this was that they played in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Every time the Dodgers would score, the Brewers would retaliate. The Dodgers put up 3 runs in this game. Finally, you're thinking, all right, they're still playing horrible, but maybe they'll get a win here. They go up 3-0. Kershaw's pitching well. The Brewers immediately get 3 runs on the board. And Dodgers came back and tied the game. I think they actually, I don't know if I forget if they took the lead, but they came back and tied the game. Again, the Brewers, 2 outs, base hit. It's just, when you're playing bad, like I said, it's a bad, they're just in such a bad slump where when they never seem to do anything right, but when they do something right, the opposing team just immediately answers. So, like I've said, I've watched a lot of baseball with the Dodgers. They always get in slumps like this. And again, this season is so insanely similar to last year, where we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks from the trade deadline, less than 2 weeks from the trade deadline. And it's just such similar vibes. Last year, Freddie Freeman had to step away from it because of his son. We'll see what happens with Freddie Freeman. They went into that trade deadline with a lot of guys, like Kevin Biggio was in the lineup. Gavin Lux was hitting third because Mookie Betts hadn't returned at that point. So obviously Muncie's injured right now, so a lot of similarities. Guys are just struggling mightily. I mean, I don't even know if there's anyone on the team who's hitting good, literally. I mean, Miguel Rojas has been good, but even the guys like Smith and Pajes, who had good years, aren't even hitting that great at the moment. Shohei did hit 2 homers in this series and had a few hits, so pray to God that Shohei just goes on a heater. That would be great. You need Mookie to hit better. Again, I said I would talk about Freddie Freeman, so he got hit on the hand by a pitch from Quintana. It's kind of funny. I didn't see it in real time. I was actually watching the whole game, and the second I stepped away, he got hit. So when I saw the video, it's weird. you could kind of classify it in two ways. What's good is that he got hit in the hand, and he didn't like drop to the ground agonizing in agonizing pain. Kind of like when Mookie got hit last year. Everybody remembers he got hit. It was against the Royals. Immediately dropped to the floor, grabbing his hand in pain. Freddie didn't do any of that, but he got hit and immediately just started walking to the dugout. So he could have immediately been like, something's broken, I'm out. The x-rays have already come back, like I said, negative. Again, I don't know if I'm just super optimistic with injuries, but when I saw it, I was like, I don't think it's that bad. I don't want to make it sound like, minimize it or anything, but when I saw that, I was like, that's not like a 6-week injury or something. Again, we'll see what happens, but I would not be shocked if Freddie's in the lineup tomorrow against the Twins. I saw some people talking about it wouldn't be the worst thing for him if he went on the IL. I don't know how I feel about that. If he goes on the IL, I won't panic because it's negative and he's such a tough guy that he'll come off the IL as soon as he's eligible. But unfortunately, with where they're in, with where the Dodgers are at right now with this losing streak, I don't know that I want to. I know that he's been struggling. I can see what people are saying, maybe put him on the IL, he comes back in a week or whatever the time is, and, he gets a little reset. But they're in a bad spot right now that, the offense with a lot of the guys hitting the way they are, I don't want Freddie Freeman not in the lineup if he can play. So, to me, it just comes down to if he feels like he can go tomorrow and it's not compromised, then he should play. If you feel like you're compromised or you need it to rest, then do it. But I don't know that I would have him sit, or I don't know that I would, if I was Freddie, I would sit because I need a reset. But, who am I to tell? So that's pretty much it, guys. The Dodgers are just, like I said, I've watched a lot of the Dodgers before, so I've seen this before. And I know ultimately they'll be okay. I still think they'll win the division. I think they'll get hot again and have one of the better records. But when the team is playing this bad, it just takes it out. I mean, it's been over 2 weeks now of just this is the worst losing streak of the year. This will be it for sure, like the worst losing streak. Like there's times where the Dodgers kind of go through 500 ball. Before the last podcast when I did this first half recap, I kind of explained their hot and cold streaks, how they got to this point. They started off the season hot, then they kind of played like 500 ball, then they got hot again. This is not 500 ball. I mean, like I said, they were hot going into that Houston series. I think they were 18-5 in their previous 23. They have gone since then. They lost 7 straight. Then they won 2, so that's 2-7. And then they obviously get swept here. Yeah, 2-10. So 12 games, they've won 2. Literally, it's just been loss. Just it's like impossible to see a win right now. So, I mean, the bullpen's giving up homers. The offense is just not hitting. I mean, like Tommy Edman has been ice cold for a long time. Teoscar Hernandez has been ice cold. So some guys showed, like I said, they did score runs in its two final games. Shohei had 2 home runs. Paz had a double. Teoscar had a double in Saturday's game. I'm trying to think who else. Like I said, Mookie had a hit today. So when you play this bad and you're losing this much and all, like, you just gotta turn. It sounds stupid to say, but like you just gotta turn it around. They play the Twins upcoming week. Shohei will start Monday, and then actually Dustin May will come out of the bullpen and follow him. So he'll either be out there, giving the Dodgers innings, hopefully handing it over to someone to close the game. Maybe 2 final pitchers to close out the game, or he'll be out there just mopping up, eating innings. Then it'll be Yamamoto Tuesday. And then Glasnow, like I said, will pitch Wednesday. So you got good starters on the mound. You got good pitchers on the mound. Like I said, the Dodgers have gotten healthy. You're going to have Shohei on the mound, Yamamoto on the mound, Glasnow on the mound. Snell is coming back. The rotation is starting to look better. It's kind of crazy that, like, I talked about trade deadline stuff, and I haven't made a video on that yet, but I did talk about how I put on my X some potential trade options. It was all pitchers except for one person. starting pitchers and relievers, that's completely flipped now, where if they're going to make a move, it's going to be bullpen guys and then probably an outfielder, with where the lineup is at. So at the end of the day, you just got to win games. The Twins are not that great of a team. They're like a couple games under 500. So just you got to win the series against the Twins. Do something. I mean, Shohei, hopefully he gets on a heater, like I said, and then guys got to show up. You just got to win. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's been hard to watch. I hope we're almost out of this, losing streak, because it has been a long 2 weeks. So, as always, guys, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick, and subscribe to the Reddit at competitive-week8715. As I said before, the Dodgers will get through this. You guys have probably learned by now, I'm an optimistic fan. I'm not a doomer. I'm not, the sky is falling, although it feels like it is. Now, you do have to have urgency. The Dodgers are not playing well. The division lead is now down to 3.5 games. There was a time where they were winning the division by like 8 games, 9 games. It's down to 3.5, I think. So it's going to be another close race like it was last year. The trade deadline will come. I think they'll make some pretty good moves. The rotation's going to get healthy. Max Muncy will be back at some point. We'll see what happens with Freddie Freeman, if he'll play against the Twins in this series. But at the end of the day, man, you just got to win games. Someone's got to show up. Like, someone needs to spark the team tomorrow. Someone needs to hit a 3-run homer or something. Take the pressure off, just something. And most importantly, the defense and, like, base. Like, you got to there are times where you're going to get dominated on the mound, times where you're going to get hit around. But one thing you can control is your brain and making decisions on the base paths, paying attention, being aware, being in the right spot on the field. So the Dodgers will get through this, but it's just rough right now. So as always, guys, thank you for listening. We'll be back to preview the Twins series, give you some info on the Twins, and that's it. Thank you guys for listening.